We are back and we are live. It is Fight IQ presented by RotoWire. Here to talk UFC 267. I mean, which main event you guys want to talk about? We got a few to choose from. Jan Blachowicz taking on Glover Teixeira in the nice guy / light heavyweight title UFC title fight. Also, the interim UFC bantamweight title is on the line as Piotr Jan takes on Corey Sandhagen. I'm your host of the show, the Daily Fantasy Sniper. I would say with me as always, but we have a change to the lineup this week. I will say with me as always is Joe, also known as Sunsu, and filling in for Chris. Welcome in Uncle Wheezy. Wheezy, how you doing, man? Happy to have you.
I'm happy to be here, man. I have been a fan of this show for a very long time. You guys have been doing this for a minute, and I'm pretty much new to the game. So to have me on the show is it's a big privilege for me. I really appreciate you having me on. Can't wait to chop up all 14 fights with you guys tonight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it and happy to have you on. But you're taking Chris's spot, so you have to say at least three things that are absolutely ridiculous during this podcast. It's
Dude,
just
I got you
it's just the
covered. I
rule.
might have like 7 or 8 for you guys by the end of this card, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm usually talking quite a bit of shit. So yeah, I can definitely fill
Also,
those shoes.
Sniper, I don't think we briefed Wheezy on the fact that this is a PG-13 show because
I
of
should have done that.
RotoWire's
Yeah.
Christian values. So
I slipped
like
up at least 3 times a show though.
yeah,
So don't
so
worry
like
about it.
instead of saying the entire word, you have to say like F. Like you can't actually say the entire bad word.
I
You
haven't
know,
gotten any emails from Jake or
from
Alan yet,
corporate.
but it's coming. Like I
Yeah,
know one day it's gonna happen.
yeah, yeah. Get it.
You
Well, I'm
can't call that
fired
woman
up either
fighter a
way, you
bleep.
guys. I can't wait to chop it up on all 14 of these, man. And I'll try to keep it as PG-13 as I can.
Lame.
Uh,
I mean, oh yeah, good. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, PG-13 is fine. No, I would be remiss, gentlemen, if I didn't start this out. I'm looking in the chat real quick, and I have to say, like, we've had our share of super fans. Like, John Church has always been a big supporter of the show, like pushed to get us on Cirrus. But I have to say, man, and this, gentleman, Wheezy, major props for just like supporting all of the channels. And I know if we had a dono, he would probably hit us, which we don't have. We were talking about that before the show, and none of us actually really need to go there. But I'm talking about none other than Tajik Bey, who has been making the rounds. We will have him on at some point on this show. I actually love his takes. Like, and oddly enough, he gave some color on one of the shows about like a certain kind of steroid that I knew nothing about. And I'm like, wow, that's really interesting stuff. So Tajik, thank you for like I'm sure these guys and none of us make a lot of money doing this. We all have day jobs, or most of us have day jobs. AJ Shulo's living the dream. But like I know these guys appreciate your donos. So I really, like for the community, I really appreciate your support and everything you do. And like I'm glad that you're kind of getting in front of the mic, and we'd love to have you on someday. I know Brett and I want to have you on Alpha at some point. So thank you for that, and we appreciate you tuning in.
Well, from one public service announcement. Sorry, guys, I got to take care of a little bit of housekeeping, and we'll get to business. Make sure you go to rotowire.com/free for a 10-day free trial to all their premium content. No credit card required. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is RotoWire MMA now. We're on our own channel. On iTunes, also RotoWire MMA. And since we have some new people in, kind of cross-pollinating here, all that good stuff, you should follow all of us on Twitter. It is. I gotta make sure I get Wheezy's right. Wheezy, what's your Twitter? Just throw it out now so I don't mess it up.
It's at MMA Wheezy. It's a capital M in MMA and a capital W in WEEZY.
There you go, guys. Make sure you follow that. Joe is at Sunsu. I'm at sniper_DFS. Let's talk some fights, guys. We got 14 of these bad boys to talk about. We're going to start at the bottom of the card, work our way to the main event, build the suspense as always. Tagi, and I have so many names to get through this week. It is not going to be enjoyable, and I can't wait to hear Joe pronounce them. Anyway, Tagir Ulanbekov, 9,400 on DK, $20 on FanDuel, taking on Alan Nascimento at 6,800 on DK, $9 on FanDuel. A lot of fights this week. I do still feel like we're actually scraping for some underdogs. Wheezy, we'll start with you. Is Nascimento a guy you're looking at? For me, As terms of first fights of the card go, not a great one to target for DFS, but I'll take Ulanbekov.
Yeah, my pick in this fight is Ulanbekov by decision. But when you're paying up like 9,400, which is I think what you got to pay up for Ulanbekov, you don't want a decision win, not on a 14 fight card. So, I think Ulanbekov actually might be kind of low owned here, even though there's probably going to be some grappling upside for both of these guys in this fight. But the way I'm actually playing it is I'm punting with Nascimento in my cash lineup at 6,800. It frees up a lot of salary. And in that cash lineup, I wind up getting 3 guys that are 9,000 or above. And then I got one other I got one other underdog and then one mid-priced fighter. So when you go way down there to like 6,800, you want to find somebody that has a chance to, in a loss, fight the full 15 minutes. That's always a big thing, especially when you're just punting, when you're saying, I don't expect this fighter to win. And we got that with Nascimento. Also with Nascimento, we got somebody that in that Paiva fight was landing 7 significant strikes a minute, landing at a 68% clip and only absorbing 5.4, shot 10 takedowns in 15 minutes. It's a guy that could give us some volume, maybe even get us a couple of takedowns here. And Ulanbekov only has 50% takedown defense. So I like Nascimento as a punt. I'm not saying he's going to win. I think Ulanbekov should comfortably win this fight. Nascimento's grappling is a little bit sloppy, but at the end of the day, we're trying to score as many points as possible. I don't like a lot of these underdogs, so I'm going to punt with Nascimento here. I'm interested to hear what your guys' take on this one is, though.
I do agree when you're building lineups. Sorry, I'm slow on the transition, guys. This is Chris's job. I agree. Somebody else hit it on here. The second guy in there, Nascimento's live. I like Makwan as the pure cash punt. We'll talk about that later, just because of spoiler. But I think Caleb is. I think one of those two guys is going to be pretty popular. And there's a third that's riskier, but again, I won't spoil it too much. Joe, how do you have this fight?
Yeah, so I am going to go out and pick Nascimento here. So, split in 2018, in August of 2018, split decision with Pavia on the Contender Series. Pavia is a good fighter, UFC fighter. Split decision, and then he doesn't get another fight for 3 years, and they were canceled bouts in the FC promotion. So there was a series of 4 canceled bouts, 3 in 2019 and 1 in 2021. So I feel kind of bad for the guy. He then goes and he fights this guy named Ilivado Lima, and he rear naked chokes him in 3 minutes and 32 seconds in the first round. So, in 3 years, over 3 years, this guy has had 3 minutes and 32 seconds of ring time. With that said, he trains with, Lima Shootbox. Not a horrible camp. Both of these guys are freakishly tall for 125. I mean, I don't know how at 5'9" you make 125. I mean, there's not many women at 5'9" that could make 125. The Russian is 5'7", so he's no shorty either. But I do kind of like where this guy's been training. In Brazil with Shootbox Diego Lima. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because I don't see the Russian as a finisher here. And I think this line is incredibly wide at plus 300. So, technical points aside, I am going to say, or I'm banking on the fact that he's had some improvement and that, we know the Russian is not a finisher. So I'm going to take him. I like the value. I kind of like it as a quasi cash play. I don't disagree with your take on Mr. Finland, but we'll get to that later.
All right, next fight up, we go from, I think, I'm not high on Ulanbekov, Nascimento. I would like if this fight were the first fight of the night, and there'd be a lot of DFS money down because we got Andre Petrosky, 8,600 on DK, $17 on FanDuel against Hu Yaozong, 7,600 on DK, $12 on FanDuel. Please let everyone see weigh-ins and just say, "Wow, Hu is so much bigger. I got to play this guy." Because Petrosky here has got big odds value. Guy likes to grapple. Am I a little concerned about the cardio holding up? Sure, but he's taken on a 3-2 Hu Yaozong. Probably one of my favorite plays on the card. My night could be over early, Joe. How do you have this fight?
Yeah, it's interesting because I am going to buy into the narrative on you. He's totally transformed himself. I mean, you could see what he looked like as a heavyweight. Fast forward, he is now a ripped middleweight. Yes, he's a 3-2 fighter. I get it. I do
The Jared
love.
Cannonier diet? Are you saying he's Jared Cannonier?
Look. He's 26 years old. He's 6'3". I love that he was training at Tiger Muay Thai. He's got George Hickman. He's got a really good camp. He's got killers for training partners. And look, Petrovsky is no. I mean, he's no world beater. I mean, I get it. He's got a 6-1 record, and this guy lost a round to Michael Gilmore. Let me repeat that. He lost a round to Mikiel Gilmore, right? He lost to Brian Battle in an exhibition bout, right? He beat Aaron Phillips in an exhibition bout.
Wait, so he lost the Ultimate Fighter. What do you care?
I'm telling you, man.
I love messing with you, Joe.
I know you do. So again, I'm not saying. And by the way, he was a minus 550 favorite against Gilmore, and he lost a round. So I don't love this fight, but I am not going to lay the wood on Petrosky, and I will take a few stabs at you.
Wheezy, break the tie.
Okay, so yeah, this is a hard one, you guys. I don't like this fight. It's very low level, but here's some interesting stats for this one that would lead us to believe that we should be invested in it on DraftKings. Hu Yazong, 5 fights, 4 of them have finished inside the distance. Andre Petrosky, 7 pro fights, all 7 of them have finished inside the distance. So 11 of these guys, 12 combined fights, have finished inside the distance. That's DraftKings gold. The problem is, who the hell is going to win this fight? I mean, we know Petrosky's the favorite. We know Hu Yazong is very young and only has 5 professional fights. But I think at this point, it might be almost 3 years since we've seen Hu in the cage. So there's no telling how much better this guy's gotten, how much worse. We do know that his takedown defense was absolutely terrible. He got taken down all 4 times that somebody shot on him. And I believe he's got a 0% takedown accuracy. So, I mean, it gets no worse than that in terms of grappling numbers for Hu. We're going to have, if we're thinking that he's made improvements, that's going to be an assumption that's based on nothing other than we know he's been training at Tiger Muay Thai. And the pictures that we're seeing of him looks like he's cut and he's ready to go. But from a DraftKings perspective, when these fights are finishing inside the distance 11 out of 12 times on their combined records, and in their 3 combined losses, 2 of them have finished inside the distance, it really leads us to believe that we should be on both sides of this fight if we're multi-entering. That being said, what I've seen out of Petrosky is way better than what I've seen out of Hu. So I have to lean Petrosky here. I have to go with what the books are saying. I have to think that his grappling is going to be dominant. But would I bet it? No, I can't bet it because this guy, Yazong, could have made massive improvements. But, there's, I guess this is me rambling for 5 minutes saying I have no clue what's going to happen in this fight. But if I had to pick, it would be Petrosky. And if I'm multi-entering, this is going to be probably one of the top 4 or 5 fights on the card that I'm going to be interested in.
Talking without saying anything. That's Tout 101. He's a pro, guys. He said he hasn't been in the game long. That's pro. It's a pro stuff, pro move right there. But it's true. And that's one of the things I preach all the time. It's MMA. It's a high variance sport. And you have a high variance fight within a high variance sport. Approach it smartly. It's a money them play both sides. I'm choosing to take a stand. It's kind of one of those. We are gambling. I'm sorry, DraftKings. We're gambling here. Pick a side, but be invested in this fight for DraftKings and FanDuel for DFS. All right, next fight up. Oh, we're already talking about the other cash viable punt. Lerone Murphy, 9,300 taking on Makwan Amirkhani. 6,900. Sorry, Murphy's 19 on FanDuel. Makwan $10 on FanDuel. Mr. Finland. Look, regardless of you're picking Mr. Finland or not, which I have to lean that way. Actually, it's funny. I'm picking Murphy by decision, but all the DFS upside here is all with Makwan. Because if he gets the grappling going, he's the one who's going to score. And Murphy's got to outscore all these 9K killers. Yeah, no thanks. I think I built 150 today. My first run, I had 3% Lerone Murphy. And I still went, God, that seems high. So
What?
I'm not going to be. Well, I mean, Joe, I got Lerone Murphy in his price range. Blahovic, Ankalaev, Duriev, Ulanbekov, Chimaev, Makashev. Gonna play Lerone Murphy? Man, I like game theory, but that's rough. Wheezy, you're up first for this one.
Yeah, man. So you pretty much just summed it up there in just a few words. I mean, LaRon Murphy is probably in this spot here nothing more than a game theory play because he's gonna be low owned. The guys that are priced right around him all have significantly more upside in terms of finishing and in terms of grappling. And we know in DraftKings, grappling is king. So we've got to get guys that are going to grapple first, get those takedowns, pile up that control time, and then pile up those point significant strikes and regular strikes, which can pile up quickly. So Amir Khani, his best path is probably locking up one of those front chokes, one of those Bravos or Anacondas or Darce chokes that he is absolutely fantastic at wrapping up. And this is a striker versus grappler matchup, and it's very clear what's going to happen here. Either Amir Khani is going to try to get this fight to the ground and be successful doing that, get it into the grappling realm, use his wrestling, use his top control, and fish for submissions. Or Murphy's going to kind of stay on his bike, use his length, use his far superior striking to kind of pick him apart from the outside and maybe even get a late finish. But, we got to remember, Amir Khani went 3 full rounds with Edson Barbosa. Amir Khani has been finished in 33% of his pro losses, but only once in the UFC, and it was by knockout. So there could be a path there for LaRon Murphy to knock this dude out, but he's got a legit chin, does Amir Khani. So yeah, it's really hard to fit Murphy into your lineups, especially if you're playing cash or if you're only playing like 2 or 3 lineups. You probably are going to avoid Murphy 100% and probably punt with Amir Khani in one of those lineups. But if you're multi-entering and LaRon Murphy catches this dude, he's got a ton of power, you guys. And you know what else that LaRon Murphy has that's actually kind of surprising for a striker is really good ground and pound that he's been finishing fights with. So if Makwan gets sloppy and winds up on the bottom, he could actually get ground and pounded out here. LaRon Murphy's done that before. So LaRon Murphy's kind of one of those leverage plays that if you're going to be multi-entering 100, 150 times, he better be probably above 8 or 9% on your overall lineups. But if you're just entering 1 or 2 or just one cash lineup, your best play is probably considering a punt with Amir Khani.
Joe, who you got?
Yeah, look, I understand the narrative around, Mr. Finland here. Best topology photo by far. I get it. I just, Murphy is 10-0-1. And I don't necessarily see this as a fight that's going to give him his first loss, right? So I do get the appeal. I mean, there's obviously some value in DraftKings, 6.9K. There's grappling points. He should have a solid floor in cash. Excuse me. I get all that. But, if I'm going to pick a winner, the longer this fight goes, I see the momentum shifting to Murphy. I think Cody said this might be a fight, Cody Safrick, to look at live because, I could certainly see Arman winning the first round. Now, we've heard talk that he's worked on his cardio, that, he's less about power and more about cardio. And maybe that's true, but I think we need to see it. So I'm going to pick Murphy. I will be the lowest owned fighter over 9K. So if you are looking at game theory, if you are looking at maybe getting some leverage on the field, 14%, I'll probably be there. And if I haven't decided how many I'm going to play in the big contest yet, but I'll probably be pretty close to that. And I'll probably have, market on Arman as well. And I'm contemplating, putting him in a cash lineup. So I'm going to pick Murphy, but I get the narrative on Arman.
Before we go to the next fight, a couple things in chat that made me laugh. Petrosky likes to feint 50 times before leaping face first into a counter from Non. It's not inaccurate, unfortunately.
Non's the
guy
best.
DFS by the numbers. It looks like he's on.
There he is. There's Brady.
And you know what? Non again. with the fire. Amirkhani by sub plus 600 on
Yeah, that's
DK.
pretty juicy right
Yeah,
there.
that's probably his best path to victory. I like that if you're gonna throw a stab at this fight. All right, let's go to the next fight. Shamil Gamzatov, 8,400 on DK. FanDuel, $16. Take on Mikhail Oleksiejczuk. DK 7,800. FanDuel $14. Man, Oleksiejczuk, that win over Roundtree seems like a lifetime ago, and pretty much because it was. He seems to be on a bit of a downswing. He's the underdog here, which is odd. What's odd about this fight to me, what I wanted to mention is we have two stand-up strikers at light heavyweight, and I have almost no interest in rostering at GPP. Like, it seems like two big guys are going to go to a decision. That's the way it plays out in my head. I'm slightly favor Oleksiejczuk for the pure volume, but it's not a confident pick by any means. Joe, you're up first for this fight.
Yeah, so he may not be the underdog for long.
Yep.
I see on DraftKings Sportsbook he's plus 100 now, which definitely gives you some line value here at at what 7.8 or 7.7, 7.8, right? On
Yes.
DK.
Yep.
So I think there's some line value there, and I could certainly see this line either flipping or going to 110, 110. This is a pretty soft 14-0 record that Shamil has, and I'm going to get creative, as you suggested, Shaun, in pronouncing some of these names because I feel like I'm Pat Sajak here, and I need to buy a vowel. So
There's plenty of friggin' vowels. You got
yeah, well, yeah, maybe just a couple that I need to buy. So in any case, what's really interesting about this guy is he fought in 2019, won a split decision over, Kitson Abreu, which, was not a world beater in his own right. And then he essentially had four canceled bouts. One was due to COVID, and he withdrew from the next. No, actually, he withdrew from the next two, and then the final one, he apparently had visa issues. So now he's coming back to fight, the Polish Power, 2.0. I got to go with the line value here. I mean, he's 14-0, but I think the record is pretty soft. Obviously fought better competition, Mikhail. You're right. That was a kind of a good win against came in no contest, but it was a good win against Roundtree. Definitely fought some better fighters in Shoot and St. Preux, although he lost those. Split decision win. He did not look aggressive at all against Modestus. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. Again, you're right. It's two strikers. You're not going to get a lot of grappling points. So if this goes to a boring decision, you definitely don't want to be laying the juice on the Russian. So 7.8K, I'll take it.
Wheezy, who you got?
Yeah, this is a tough one. It's one I'm, in cash lineups and stuff, I'm going to be pretty much staying away from completely. But I actually do have a small bet on this fight to not go to decision. And one of the reasons I usually bet a fight not to go to decision is when I see 100% of the combined losses of the two fighters coming inside the distance. Now, Gamzatov has never lost, but Oleksiejczuk, all four of his losses have been inside the distance. So it was something I just sprinkled for like less than a unit at plus 145. So I think that, as a leverage play on either side, especially Gamzatov, I think Gamzatov is going to be damn close to like 0% owned. This guy is a very low volume, very unexciting fighter. And, he's just DraftKings. He's a DraftKings nightmare. I'd have to go to my spreadsheet to see how many DraftKings points a minute he scores, but I'm guessing it's less than 2 points a minute. Doesn't get takedowns, has been taken down. But Oleksiejczuk, on the other hand, is pretty much a striker, and he's absolutely a fish out of water on the ground. So, maybe we could see Gamzatov get this fight to the ground and work the grappling, and he could potentially get a finish. And if you got Gamzatov in your lineup and that dude wins, you're gonna get a lot of leverage over the field. And like I say, Oleksiejczuk has been finished in all of his losses. So for me, it's just a sneaky leverage play. But I think you'd have to be pretty much crazy to put this guy in your cash lineups. And on the other hand, Oleksiejczuk would be a great option if you think he can win this fight to try to save some money, get a low-priced winner, an underdog winner in your lineup. That's absolutely a possibility. But I just wanted to mention that Gamzatov does have as many submissions as he does have knockouts on his record. But the last guy that he submitted was a guy by the name of Yuri Gorbenko and I think it was Yuri Gorbenko. And Yuri Gorbenko has got a really tough record of 12 wins and 50 losses. And I think he's currently on an 18-fight losing streak. And
did that guy ever fight Travis Fulton? I need to look this up.
I don't think he ever fought Fulton, but this dude has fought like if you got into the UFC and you were fighting on the European regional scene, then there's more than a 50% chance that at some point you shaved Yuri Gorbenko's ass because this guy's an ultimate tomato can. So, but yeah, this guy did, Gamzatov did shave his ass just like Nick Negamariano did, just like a couple of other guys that we've seen come into the UFC. This is one of the tomato cans you got to get through on the regional scene. But the important thing to mention is if you just look at the raw stats, it looks like Gamzatov is submitting people, but he hasn't submitted anybody high level. This looks like it, even though I bet that it didn't go to decision, like I say, I got good plus money on it. This probably does go to decision more times than it doesn't. And really, Gamzatov leverage play, Oleksiejczuk, nothing more than a fairly low upside cash saver, as an underdog.
I've never heard shave his ass before. I learned something on this show. Elizeo Zaleski dos Santos, 8,500. The capoeira kicks that'll also cost you $17 on FanDuel. Benoit Saint Denis, 7,700 on DK, $12 on FanDuel. I was talking to Wheezy before the show. I've gotten out of the habit of listening to a lot of other people's stuff until I'm done, and just life recently. I don't finish till Friday afternoons. So I'm interested to see if I'm out on a ledge here, and then I'm pretty high on Dennis in this spot. I love his physicality here. I don't think the capoeira kicks. I don't think Dos Santos is going to be able to keep any distance. I like the dog in this spot. I think it's a really good GPP fight because I think either Dennis is going to grapple this guy or Santos is going to catch him coming in and knock him out in the first 2 minutes with a capoeira kick. I'm down on Dos Santos from where I was 3 to 4 years ago for sure, and this is a prospect who I think could be the real deal here. This fight is minus 200 to end inside the distance. Wheezy, who you got?
So I'm going with Zaleski dos Santos here. I do like him quite a bit in this spot. Benoit Saint Denis fighting out of the really out of the North African regional scene, the Middle Eastern regional scene, coming out of Brave CF, a really good promotion that's based in Bahrain. And Benoit Saint Denis, very good grappler, very aggressive, shoots for takedowns, and really works his ground game. And that's how he tries to finish fights. He's got 8 wins, 7 of them inside the distance by submission, the other one inside the distance by knockout. So he's got a 100% finish rate. And then we look at Zaleski dos Santos, 78% career finish rate. He's been finished in 43% of his losses. So 3 out of his 7 losses have come inside the distance. This is probably going to be a striker versus grappler matchup, and that Dos Santos is probably going to want to keep this standing. That's where he's going to have the advantage. And Saint Denis is going to try to get this to the ground. The good news for Saint Denis is that Zaleski dos Santos only has shown 53% takedown defense in the UFC. He's been taken down 17 times in 11 fights, and he's averaging being taken down 1.95 times per 15 minutes. That being said, he is a black belt. He is a very experienced grappler, very good on the ground. And Benoit Saint Denis leaves a lot of openings. He's definitely a submission over position grappler. I think he's a little bit too sloppy with his grappling to succeed at the UFC level. But if he did come in here and have a good performance, it wouldn't be that surprising because he's looked very good on the regional scene. He does get those submissions, but like I say, I think if he grapples with a higher level guy, and Dos Santos is exactly that compared to the competition that he's been beating thus far, that I think he's going to probably wind up getting caught in a submission himself, or leaving some openings for some big damage to be done with ground and pound and on the feet. So I'm picking Zaleski dos Santos to win this. I'm picking him to win inside the distance because we haven't seen Saint Denis get out of the second round more than once in his career. UFC debut, all that stuff. I'm picking Zaleski dos Santos to win inside the distance.
You know who else is a black belt, though? Kevin Holland. He's
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
he's,
under
he's,
the
a,
great Travis
he's
Luter.
looter. That's right. He's a looter black belt, and I don't know what the hell happens when he gets down there. But points are well taken. I am on the downswing of where I was on Dos Santos. I'm gonna have both sides of this fight. I think you mentioned it perfectly. I mentioned inside the distance. You mentioned the Saint Denis history. This seems like one that Joe you're going to be very heavily exposed to on DK.
Yeah, I agree with Wheezy in that this is a really good spot for uh, Mr. Capoeira, simply because this is a much easier fight for him than he's had recently. I mean, he's had some pretty tough fights. I honestly thought, and I got to make sure I don't want to misspeak here, but I thought he won. He had either a loss or a draw in a prior fight that I thought he clearly won, and double check real quick. And this is certainly this is certainly a much easier opponent. I don't know a lot about I guess this guy was what in the French Foreign Legion or something, or he was a paratrooper before he got into MMA. So it likely means he's a pretty tough guy. But like this is a massive step up over anyone that he's ever fought before. Let's see, 22-7, 34 years old, not ancient. Oh yeah, I thought he actually
the solid
the Salikov fight. Yeah, I thought he might have won
I,
that fight.
I thought it was a split decision. That was one of those whoever gets the win, no one's crying robbery.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was look, I do think this is a good spot. I do think 8.5K. I'm surprised honestly that the line isn't wider. Coming off a split decision loss to Muslim Salikov does not seem like the most horrific of all losses here. I'm just kind of checking ownership real quick. 8.5K. Yeah, looking ownership 20 to 25% maybe. There might be some value in that. I think he may be overlooked, at 8.5K. So, a lot of people we know are going to flock to the 5-round fights. Those fights are going to be highly owned. Probably both sides of those fights are going to be highly owned. There could be some interesting leverage here. At 20 to 25% ownership, 8.5K, a real step down in opponents. We know he's got the ability to win this standing. We know he can win this on the ground. So yeah, I do like me some, easy here.
I think head on to the next fight. Albert Dariev, 9,200 on DK, $20 on FanDuel. Roman Kopylov, 7,000 on DK, $11 on FanDuel. Dariev, the former ACB middleweight champion, seasoned guy considering he's making his UFC debut. He is a guy I like. It is another fight high inside the distance prop. Another, I think, kind of volatile fight here, but this time I'm pretty firmly with the favorite. I'm on the side of Dariev. Joe, who you got?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's interesting that this guy is catching so much play. I'm a little bit surprised, given, let's see, he's pretty expensive. Making his UFC debut, right, off of a Contender Series win. Do I have that right? I believe so.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like, and again, I don't think all that much of his opponent, but he is getting a lot of love. I guess Roman's got a puncher's chance here, but I'm going to follow the herd here. A lot of people seem to like him. I was a little bit surprised. This guy lost. I mean, I guess getting choked out by Carl Roberson is not when you get choked out by a kickboxer, it's probably not the best, sign in the world. But I guess I'll go with Doriev here. I'd really like to have seen him fight once in the real UFC. But he seems to be getting a lot of steam. I'll have shares of him. Just kind of looking at ownership real quickly. North of 30%. That could be interesting. So yeah, I guess I'll take Doriev.
Wheezy, who you on?
I'm definitely on Duryev. I'm all over Duryev here. I even got him down as my ass shaving of the week, and that's what I call my most dominant win of the week. I pick somebody to win dominantly, and when
How
they
have I not
win,
watched your stuff? Do you really do that every show?
yeah, dude, every
Yeah.
show, man. Like, yeah. I mean, like,
I
there's a
love
lot
that.
of stupid shit on my show, dude. My deep breakdowns of fights are called balls deep breakdowns. My full card breakdowns called just the tip. I'm doing a lot of adolescent little, plays here on what I'm just talking shit a lot of the time, but
I
I do
mean,
know
that's what
my
we're all doing. I
MMA.
mean, that's what we're all doing, and I love you guys, chap. We're all a bunch of middle-aged children talking fights. I
That's
wouldn't have
right.
it.
That's
I wouldn't
right.
have it any other way.
So yeah, that's the way I do it. But yeah, so I've got Duryev winning this fight. But here's the thing. So Duryev is a great submission grappler. 64% of his pro wins by submission, and Roman Kopolov's only pro loss has come by submission. He got choked out, like Sun Tzu said, by a striker. And Kopolov, on the other hand, 7 of his 8 wins inside the distance by knockout. And in Durayev's 3 professional losses, he's been knocked out all 3 times. So I believe Kopolov, even though I really think he's got very, very, very small chance to win this fight, is a fantastic leverage play here, because I think if he does win this fight, it's going to be by knockout. It's going to be inside the distance, and he's going to be super low owned and really cheap. So I think if you're multi-entering, you don't want to leave Kopylov out of your slate, because this guy, if he does win, he's going to be so low owned that you're not going to have any chance to win the tournament. But that being said, I think Duryev's path here is to take down Kopylov, to work that top heavy grappling game and choke him out probably in the first round here. This is striker versus grappler all day. The last thing I want to mention, though, is that Duryev's stand-up is actually serviceable. And when you watch his regional scene footage back in the ACB, he's chewed people up with leg kicks and calf kicks in the past. And that's something that Kopylov absolutely struggled with against Roberson. So not only do I think Duryev dominates this on the ground, I also think he can hang with Kopylov on the feet. I got Duryev all day here. He'd probably be my highest owned fighter.
All right, moving on. Zubara Tukagov, 8,300 or $16 on FanDuel. Ricardo Ramos, 7,900 on DK, $13 on FanDuel. Excuse me. This fight is pretty boomer bust for DFS. It's no volume, or someone's gonna get knocked the hell out. And personally, I think Zubar Tukagov is going to put Ricardo Ramos' head in the first row. If I'm wrong, he's going to score 47 points in a decision win, or he's going to score 125.5 and knock him out with the first shot. It's a huge boomer bust, but it's a mid-range fight, and these type of mid-range guys with big upside I really think are important fights to target. I don't think Hamosh, even in a decision win, I don't think he's going to put out enough volume and I don't see him finishing on this card. I think you're going to need 600-point scores. Like, there's 14 fights. There's big scores to be had here. I don't see Hamosh really pulling one of those off. Zubara could. So when I say I think Tukagov's going to knock him out, that is my pick for the fight. But man, if he doesn't, he stares at people forever. There's just no volume. So give me Tukagov. It is risky though. Wheezy, who you on?
Yeah, this one I actually picked when people ask me, what I'm doing with this fight, I actually picked it as a draw. Tukagov, I don't have any idea what's going to happen here, you guys. Sometimes these guys finish, sometimes they don't. Sometimes these guys get finished, sometimes they don't. But here's what we know about Tukagov, right? Let's look at the last 5 fights. A win over Felipe Nover, who's 1-6 in the UFC by split decision. Then a loss to Renato Moicano by split decision. Then he has a draw against Laron Murphy by split decision. Then it's Kevin Aguilar by KO. So we got to step down to Aguilar. He won like he probably should have won that fight. And then he gets a step back up to Hakeem Dawodu. Loss, split decision. I mean, how many split decisions is this dude going to go to? And that's really a function of a guy that's kind of comfortable just trying to outpoint his opponent, not necessarily trying to finish. Even though both of these guys have shown some power, it's a fight I don't have much of a read on. If you put a gun to my head and ask me who wins this, I think it's Tukagov, just because he's based out of Dubai already, and he's not going to be, flying across an ocean like Ramos is. But yeah, this is a big stay away fight for me. There's 14 fights on this card. This is one I could feel real safe fading in DraftKings.
Yeah, just be careful. Zubar has that kind of crazy power where something could happen, but obviously it's any guy like that. The reason why he's in so many splits is, like I mentioned, because if he doesn't get a knockout, nothing happens in his fights, nothing. And you got Adelaide Bird, who can't score fights when stuff does happen. When nothing does happen, these guys are just, I don't know. Well, it looks like Zubara won. Like that's what's happening here. Joe, who you got?
So I like Ramos a fair bit here.
Oh,
yeah, I do.
Chris, is that you?
Yeah, Carcachino, which I think that's his nickname, and I believe in Portuguese that means I know how to milk bulls in Portuguese. Carcachina. If that's not the case, someone in chat, please, correct my Portuguese.
Nobody correct him. I don't want to continue this conversation.
Yeah. So I love the progression. I was very impressed with his win over Bill Algeo, who I think is a pretty good fighter. I like that he trains a team alpha male. He may not, look, I think the progression I think he's moving in the right direction. I don't think much of Tukagov here. Going back to, I played on his rise Moicano against him back on that Brazil card. And I thought that, I didn't really think much of him in that fight. So, give me Ramos against the king of split decisions. I think there's some line value. I believe, what is Ramos? Is he 7'9"?
7'8".
7'8". Okay.
No, 7'9". 7'9". You're
7'9".
right.
So give me Ramos here at 7'9". I think he's live here. I don't know what the current odds are. I haven't looked, but I really do think at 7'9" there's some value here, and this is a card where we're struggling to find dogs, and I don't think anyone should be surprised if Ramos goes out and gets this win.
Got a couple dogs coming up for you, Joe. Don't worry.
Okay.
I'm here to fill in for Chris. But until then, we got to talk about Amanda Ribas, who's 8,200 on DK. FanDuel $15. Taking on Virna Jandaroba, 8,000 on DK. FanDuel $15. Is there any more textbook case of recency bias than this fight when people are breaking it down? At least from what I've seen, a couple people I have looked at. Ribas, people are off because she lost, and everyone's high on Virna because of the fight against Dern. Look, I still think if Virna's going to have the same trouble Dern's going to have in a lot of fights. If she does not get a takedown, she's screwed against a lot of fighters. Now, yeah, her striking looked okay against Mackenzie Dern because you put two sacks of shit next to each other trying to box. It's going to look that way. And I love Mackenzie Dern. I love the BJJ game. To me, if Ribas keeps this fight up, she wins pretty comfortably. I think she does it here. I think she's got more volume. I think she's more athletic. As long as Virna can't straight up power her down, which I don't think is the case, I see a lot of path to victory for Ribas. And at 8,200, she's a fighter that I think is going to be under-owned, that you can get a little sneaky on here. This is my sneaky mid-range play of the card. Joe, you're the women's MMA whisperer, so I assume you're going to tell me Virna's going to finish her in the first round.
This is one of my favorite plays on the entire slate. Now, yes,
please be with me. Please be with me.
I love Virna here. I think.
Boo! I disagree. I'm going against you, Joe.
I think that Ribas has had a really soft schedule, and I think Virna's on her way up. I really do. Look.
Okay, hang on, wait.
Before you keep going,
wait. We got to throw some fun into this.
Yeah.
It's so rarely am I against you in women's MMA fights. We have to have some kind of friendly wager here. Like, there's got to be something.
Whatever you like, man.
We got it. So, chat, give us some ideas while Joe does his breakdown. Yeah. There's got to be something, nothing ridiculous, okay, guys? I mean, Joe's not going to get me tattooed on his ass again. We can't do that.
Yeah, I only have one cheek left, so I got to save that for another bet. Yeah, so I really do think Virna is the play here. I'm shocked at the line. I already bet this at plus 145. Look, Ribas is got a nice social media presence. She is not hard on the eyes. These are types of fighters that the UFC likes to promote. I think my good friend Wheezy here said, Virna is attractive. Something to the effect, Virna is attractive if you are a fan of Mount Rushmore. something along those lines.
Don't pick on the eye, guys. I got a fucked up eye. Let's not.
Yeah.
Let's not pick... Oh, sorry, RotoWire. Sorry.
Yeah. So this is a woman that has to fight for her lunch and breakfast and dinner. I loved her last fight against Murata. I really did. I think that she could win here, and I think she could be pretty dominant. Quite honestly, I don't think she's going to get intimidated by being on Fight Island. I really do like her here. I'll have a few shares of Rebus just in case, but I think this is a great value play at 8K. One of my favorite plays on the entire slate.
Wheezy.
Virna's in my cash lineup. I max bet Virna like over a month ago when I saw this spot.
Ooh, I might be feeling silly, but I'm gonna stick with it.
No, don't look. Hebas has got great striking. Her striking is better than Virna's. That being said, there's so many other places here where I feel Hebas does not have the advantage. Hebas has the better striking. She's faster. She throws more volume. She's more athletic on the feet. She also is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here and be 5 years younger. That's what I like about Hebas. Jandiroba is more experienced. She has 7 more professional fights. Jandiroba is a better finisher. Jandiroba is way more durable. Hebas got knocked out on the regional scene by Polyana Viana. That needs to be repeated. She got knocked out by Polyana Viana. Okay. If Virna hits her square, she's going down. And then we got to talk about the grappling. They're both Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts, but it's Virna's that's the multi-time world Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champion. She is very, very, very legit on the ground, and her wrestling is plus as well. And then we look at Hebas, we see that 85.71% takedown defense, and that looks fantastic on paper. The problem is that the only takedowns that she stuffed were from Mackenzie Dern, who has absolutely awful wrestling, below 10% takedown accuracy. So when Randa Marco shot the only takedown in that fight, she took down Hebas and spent the last 90 seconds of the first round on top doing damage with ground and pound. I think Virna's got a wrestling advantage. I think Virna's got a grappling advantage. I think Virna's got a power advantage. I think Virna's got a durability advantage. And I think Virna's got a strength of schedule advantage and an experience advantage. I see this being Virna all day. I put my money where my mouth is a long time ago. War Virna.
All right, agreed. I mean, everyone, you know what? Solid points all around. I think the speed and the escapability is going to be the deciding factor here. Chat's pretty torn on this fight too, which I think is really.
You just
really
want to see some more bikini photos for Rebus. I mean,
You know what? It's funny. This is a whole other conversation I had within the DFS Army chat. Hebus not my style. She's just not, and people got on me for this. Just not
mine either.
Not my. I need a bad girl who's gonna whoop my friggin' ass. Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
I got a little weird. Oh wait, we need to bet. Joe, we got. I don't know if it'll be in time for another pay-per-view coming up, but the next within a set amount of time, winner can buy or provide a T-shirt of the losers, of their choice for the loser to wear on the next podcast.
It's fine.
Down?
Do that.
All right.
Yeah.
I like it.
Let's do it.
I like that. All right.
The internet exists. What's that about?
There's a lot of interesting chat going on around this fight. It's a Virna Simp Fest.
The internet exists. Explain yourself, Monk.
Yeah, Monk, I need you to explain this further to Joe, because I remember where it came in. There you go, Caleb. This is
what are
we
going to say? Let's go, Brandon. Here. What are we going to do?
All right. Next fight up. Oh, okay. Joe, I don't know if you know this. The RotoWire staff picks came out earlier today or yesterday, I believe. I've changed 2 of them as of like an hour ago.
Oh, really?
I changed, or 2 hours ago now. I have 2 underdogs.
Wow.
And the first one is up. Magomed Ankalaev, 9,100, $20 on FanDuel. Taking on Volkan No Time Ozdemir, 7,100 on DK, $11 on FanDuel. High into the distance prop fight. And it comes down to when you watch Ankalaev's fights, can you really trust this freaking guy to do anything for 15 minutes? I mean, I won't go into the Paul Craig thing. Like, I have my opinions on the first Kutalaba fight. The second one, clear, starched him, but Kutalaba is not high level to me. And say what you want about Volkan, I do think he got pushed along too quickly for sure. But even in his losses, he's looked good and kind of made me a believer that he is a high level light heavyweight. Not that light heavyweight's incredibly deep. Ankalaev, I will say, does have some upside with the grappling. But I'm taking Ozdemir just, I think, over 3 rounds. I think he can get enough done. I think he can maintain distance. I don't think Ankalaev, I don't trust him enough to go for takedowns and maintain position. I think he's going to strike a little bit, as we always see. And in those type of just grinding fights, I'm going to take Ozdemir. Close fight. And again, I have enough guys in 9K I'm interested in. This is a guy in 7K I desperately need. So I'm on Ozdemir here. It's not like confident dog pick like you guys are all gung-ho about Virna. I think I'm a little more confident and my other underdog pick, but I am on the Vulcan side for this one. Wheezy.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit easier to get, confident about a dog pick, like Oleksiejczuk or Virna when they're just much closer to even money. I mean, with this
True.
Ozdemir line, it's a lot wider. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously reasons why Ankalaev is the favorite, but let's dig into some of the reasons why we could pick Ozdemir as an underdog here. Number one, let's look at the strength of schedule first of all. Here's the names on Ozdemir's resume, win or lose: Ovin St. Preux, Misha Serkinov, Jimmy Manoa, Daniel Cormier, Anthony Smith, Dominic Reyes, Ilir Latifi, Alexander Rakic, Jiri Prochaska. I mean, this guy has fought an absolute murderer's row. And then let's look at Magomed Ankalaev. Let's see who he's fought. Here are the names on his resume: Paul Craig, and we all remember what happened there. Marcin Prachnio, Klidson Abreu, Dalcha Lungiambula, Ian Kutalaba. They fought twice, but they were scheduled to fight 14 times. And then Nikita Krylov, his best win, 8-6, Nikita Krylov in the UFC. Now he's stepping up to Ozdemir. Ozdemir's got a lot of power. Here's another thing I like about Ozdemir. We've got the grappling defense, 80.77% takedown defense for him. That's really good. So, maybe he can keep the fight standing if that's where he wants it. Or maybe he can, try to take down Ankalaev, but Ankalaev has got 85% takedown defense in his own right. This is a great fight to target both sides. I think Ankalaev will be a lower owned 9,000 plus guy because, I just think that Duraev and Blachowicz and Hamzat are a little more appealing with their finish upside and their just dominance in terms of stats. Islam Makhachev as well. So you could see Ankalaev kind of getting lost in the shuffle here. But, the guy's a high upside guy. He's scoring a lot of DraftKings points per game. And Ozdemir's a great, because I don't like a lot of these underdogs, but we got to get a couple of them in there. So why not Ozdemir? He's fought the better brand of competition. He's shown really good power in the UFC. He's got really good takedown defense, and he's the more experienced mixed martial artist who's fought the much tougher competition. So, yeah, man, I do like Volkan here. I think he'll definitely be in if I have a couple of lineups that I play, he'll definitely be one of the underdogs I punt with and hope that he catches a big shot on Magomed, because the one thing that worries me about Ankalaev, and yeah, we do have to go back to his UFC debut against Paul Craig, but it makes me wonder when you tap with 1 second left in a fight where you've won all 3 rounds, where you don't know where you're at. It really terrifies me to bet on that individual, thinking, what happens if they get put in a bad spot again? Are they gonna panic and look for the door like he did there with 1 second left in the fight? Very, very disconcerting. And he's just been above the level of everybody else that he's fought so far. So, yeah, I'm going to be kind of staying away from Ankalaev and looking at Ozdemir as a good underdog option.
Joe, who you on?
Okay, so gentlemen, I have certain ways that I look at narrative around fights, picadillos, if you will. I don't like to bet on fighters that have really hot girlfriends. One of my other picadillos is I don't like to bet on fighters who come from neutral countries. And Vulcan is Swiss. Vulcan is Swiss. Coming from a neutral country, it's kind of like the equivalent of a medium Coke. Like, who orders a medium Coke? I mean, that's just indecisive. You either are not thirsty and you get a small Coke, or you're thirsty and you get a large Coke, right? That's how I view neutrality. Like, get off the effing fence already. So with that
The
said,
weirdest social studies class ever.
with that said, I will have a few shares of Vulcan. I'm gonna go with Ankalaev. I get that, like, that 1 second tap out was beyond frustrating for me as well, because I think I seem to remember I had a fair position in Ankalaev in that fight. Paul Craig just, like, always seems to snatch, victory from the jaws of defeat. So I'm going to pick Ankalaev here, but I understand what you guys are saying. I'll certainly have a few shares of him. He is a high level fighter. Impressive win over Alexander Rekic. So yeah, I'll have a few shares of Uzdemir, but I have to make a pick, so I'll pick Ankalaev.
People out here loving your picadillos. By the way, Monk said that was in reference to the bikini pics that you could the internet readily available for bikini pics.
Yes, that's true.
Joe's just going to Google Jessica Penne, which is a long-running joke, which I will never let die. Anyway, moving on. Hamzat Chimaev, 9,500 on DK, $23 on FanDuel. Li Jingliang, 6,700 on DK, $8 on FanDuel. Look, I think it's very clear, and I already triggered somebody on Twitter by saying this earlier. Hamzat clearly is not the GOAT. He's just not, because he can't even freaking cheat right. Did you see this towel? Just complete shenanigans today, Joe? Because you look confused. That, like, how do you screw up the towel trick? Like, it's anyway. Sorry. Like, so I will say I'm worried about Hamzat. What's going overlooked is people talking about the towel and the extra weight and 5 pounds under and scale malfunction. All this. He had a tough cut, and you coming back from the COVID stuff, and he's bounced between 170 and 185 before. I tend to think eventually he's going to end up at 185. It's just kind of my gut read on it. I'm on Chimaev here, but all of the shenanigans today, as funny as they are, and you make jokes, I that just in the back of my head, that little thing going, man, is he okay from COVID? Man, is he at the right weight class? Is he going to fade out if he can't fit? If he didn't smash somebody in 2 minutes, is he really going to hold up? And we know Lee brings fights. Like, he brings wars. It's just what he does. Even the fight he lost to Jake Matthews, it's a crazy fight. And the Jake Matthews fight is probably why most people are picking Lee and are on Hamzat, because they're so confident that he can get a takedown. If Jake can do it, Hamzat can, and Hamzat will smash him. Probably. I'm really worried if this fight gets out of the first 7.5 minutes. And I was sub 5% on Lee, and the more I think about it, and the more I see dig into this towel thing a little bit more, my Lee ownership is creeping up as we speak. I will say I'm still on Hamzat. He still should win, but I don't think it's this slam dunk. If this is the fight that blew the entire card up, I'll probably be among the least surprised people on MMA Twitter. Joe, who you got?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be the fight that blows it up. Look, we all know he's got a puncher's chance, right? I think, what was the stat, Wheezy, in Chimaev's UFC tenure? He's had 1 significant strike landed against him.
One.
Is that right?
In 3 fights, 1 strike has landed.
Yeah, 1 strike has landed.
But hang on, who are the opponents? I love that stat, and I've heard it too. But
yeah,
who are the opponents?
Your point is taken, Sean. He's fought nobodies. He's fought nobodies. I get
Mearshart is not a nobody. Mearshart's a 6-fight veteran, and he's got almost 50 professional fights.
Yeah, he's a lunch pail fighter.
That's
You're
true.
right. I like him.
24 victories by submission.
That fight, that's more impressive though if the fight lasts longer than what it did. I mean, not to take the win away from Hamzat. It was a great win. Just that defensive stat is, he got a quick knockout. I want to see, that. I'm curious to see if his defense is that good as these fights get extended. He's going to get extended at some point, and then I'll be really curious.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Chimaev here. Look, I like Li Jiang. I like the leech. I like that he's, his fights are always exciting. I like that he, knocked out Ponzinibbio with a left hook. But if Neil Magny was able to do to Lee what he did, which was just essentially dominate him, albeit in a unanimous decision, as a underdog. I can't imagine that Chimaev is not going to have similar success here. So maybe it goes beyond a round as a testament to Lee's toughness, but Lee is not a fighter who is not exactly risk averse. So I like Chimaev here. I think he's going to be the highest owned fighter on the
He'll be up
slate.
there. And I'm not going to be crazy underweight. I'm just where my hesitation comes in is if he doesn't get this quick finish, because Magny's got crazy cardio, crazy athlete, and Chimaev should smash him. But where just to be clear, if this fight gets extended for whatever reason, I'm not super confident Chimaev can keep it on him for 15. Wheezy, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there that if it does get extended, but I don't think it's gonna get extended. First of all, Li Jingliang in his 14 UFC fights only is showing 59.5% takedown defense. That is a really bad statistic against when you're coming into a fight against a guy like Chimaev, who's gotten 3 out of his 4 takedown attempts. And then, we talked about the fact that this guy's been in 3 fights and he's absorbed 1 significant strike. He's landed 87 and he's absorbed 1. You want to know how many points per minute his 3 opponents have scored against him in DraftKings? 0.06 points per minute against Khamzat Chimaev. 87 strikes landed, 1 absorbed. 3 takedowns landed, 0 absorbed. You want to know what his control time is in 3 fights? 92.56%. So here's what's going to happen. Khamzat's going to shoot a double leg, put Lee on his ass, and put him in a torture chamber for the next 5 minutes. If he survives, then he's going to do it again in the second round. And then if Lee survives that, maybe in the third round, he'll have some success. If Khamzat gasses out, if the COVID had its effect on him. But these are huge ifs. This guy, what he's done so far is it's video game numbers. It's like fighting Mike Tyson in Punch-Out. You're just not going to win. And this is Lee. It's not. I don't hate the punt. If Khamzat slips on a banana peel, Lee's going to be fucking optimal. Sorry about the bad language, but that's guaranteed. But other than that, man, this is Khamzat all day long.
I will say, Gerald Mearshart, great win. The other wins, I know we talked about. I'm going to bear it just one more time. And I like playing devil's advocate. I'm taking the Chris roll here, guys. I'm playing 50% Khamzat minimum probably, and we're going to go from there in terms of my builds. But John Phillips, Rice McKee. You put most UFC welterweights who can grapple. Hell, you put Andre Petrosky in there with those 2 guys. He might put up some crazy control time numbers against those cans, but Mearshart's going to beat the snot out of him. So the Mearshart win is what makes me think, okay, Khamzat, let's see what you got. The numbers, those 2 wins are going to skew Khamzat's numbers for a while.
Yeah, they are. But just check this out though, real quick. In Brave CF, 4 fights before he got to the UFC, he beat Mizwandol Halongwa 4-0, Ikram Aliskerov 8-0, Sidney Wheeler 8-3, Marco Kisic 5-0. So in his 4 regional scene fights in Brave, they were feeding him to guys that were legit regional scene fighters, and
it's not jungle fights either.
Dudes.
Not jungle fights.
Yeah, it's not jungle fights. This is Brave. He's getting legit fighters in this one, and he's 3-12 round 1. You should see the knockout of Kisic. It was vicious. And then 35 seconds of round 1, he beats Sidney Wheeler. 2:26 of round 1, he beats Ikram Aliskerov. And let me tell you something. If you think that this guy's striking is lacking and he got lucky against Mearshart, you need to watch Khamzat Chimaev against Ikram Aliskerov. He punted this dude's head into the 5th row with an uppercut. It was nasty. Took the dude a couple of minutes to wake up. And then it was Halongwa 4-0. So yeah, he can't help the fact that they're not feeding him mixed martial artists on his level. And what's going to happen on Saturday, this guy that he's going to be sharing the cage with, I don't think he's on his level either.
Looking forward to it. Changing subjects. Caleb, totally agree. Totally agree with this. I'm not even going to read it out loud, just in case you're on the podcast. This is a treat for those on YouTube. Mr. Chris. Anyway, next fight up, Alexander Volkov, 8,900, $19 on FanDuel. Marcin Tybura, 7,300 on DK. FanDuel, $11. I will say I think the line on this fight and the prices are a bit wide, but I do think Volkov wins a decision. What's always interesting to me is Marcin Tybura can grapple. He's not a bad wrestler, and if he does it here, I think he's got a real path to victory. I am taking Volkov for the decision win though, but Tybura live dog for sure. Wheezy, you're up first.
Yeah, I do like Volkov quite a bit in this spot. The one reason I really can't see Tabura winning this fight is it's bothered me recently that I feel like he should wrestle more. You know,
Yep.
he's very efficient with his wrestling. He's 19 of 42 on his takedown attempts in the UFC. That's 45% overall. That's 1.67 takedowns per 15 minutes, and that's 31.14% control time for. But I think Tabura is very cognizant of the fact that offensive wrestling really drains the gas tank. And I think he tries to trust his striking and, really save the takedown attempts for when he really feels he's got the best chance to get them, complete them, and then, get the rest of the round on top. But I just don't see enough of it from Tabura. Volkov's takedown defense in the UFC, he's successfully defended 41 of 60 takedowns attempted against him for 68.33%. But if you throw out the Blades fight, and Blades is by far the best wrestler in the heavyweight division, right there with Romanov and Espino. But really, other than those guys, Blades is the apex. You throw out that fight, and Volkov's takedown defense in the UFC is over 85%. So even if Tabura shoots, even if Tabura is able to close the distance on the much taller, much longer, superior striker in Volkov, he might not even be able to get the fight to the ground, in which case Volkov should cruise here. But there's not a lot of grappling upside here. So I could see Tabura being a good low-owned leverage play, a good punt, perhaps. If he does wind up going to the wrestling more than we've seen him go to in the past, he could have a fairly high upside chance of winning this fight. And this is only a 3-round fight. So if Tabura wants to go to that wrestling early and often and work that game plan, there is a path for him here, but we just haven't seen enough of that out of him in order to count on it. So I'm picking Volkov. I'm picking the Volkov to probably knock him out late in the fight, though.
Joe, who you on?
Volkov. I mean, pretty simple here. I mean, I don't know how this fight is going to score, which is why I don't know what I'm going to have this fight on DraftKings. I do think, Volkov holds a lot of the edges here. Let's see, just kind of looking at ownership real quick. 25%, maybe low. Look, Tybura's had a good resurgence, but I still think Volkov. I mean, look, the guy is a monster. He's 6'7", 6'8". I think this is actually a pretty good spot for him. Very winnable fight. He can use a win. Again, I'm just struggling with all the options above and below him. What is the right amount to play him? Given how many lineups you're going to play. I mean, if you're going to play 20 lineups, do you have them in 3 and 2? More? I mean, it's just really hard. Like, I don't know if I'm going to get to him because absent a finish, I don't know that he's going to score all that well. So I like Volkov here. He's my pick. I'm not certain yet how I'm going to use him.
All right, next fight up. I'm going to switch the view here. Talking about Islam Makhachev, 9,600. I'm going to repeat that one. Islam Makhachev's 9,600 on DraftKings, $23 on FanDuel. Dan Hooker, 6,600 on DraftKings, $8 on FanDuel. Yeah, this price is just clearly, I repeated it twice. This price makes me really uncomfortable. I think Makhachev wins. Is he going to smash Dan Hooker, who's an elite level guy? And I still think on most days Dan Hooker beats Michael Chandler. It's just one of those knockouts. It's just my opinion. Chandler has looked good, but I think most days he wins. He just got caught that day. It was a bad day. Makhachev, is he a future champion? Probably, yeah. So, no, props to Dan Hooker for taking the fight here, wanting the fight. I'm on the Makachev side, but price-wise for DFS, I think this fight's going to play out closer. I think Makachev wins, but scores 80-ish, 85 points, and screws a lot of DFS lineups. So I'll be underweight to this fight, and I'm probably more likely to play Dan Hooker in the off chance he pulls out some win, and he's the only underdog who wins. Like, they're a pass here. 6,600 is nothing. I think there's better punts for cash games, but don't fade Dan Hooker. I can't fade somebody who's this talented in this division at this price. Wheezy, you're up first.
Yeah, this is an interesting one because, everybody knows how good Islam is. This guy's dominant. He's only absorbing 0.77 significant strikes a minute. That's in a 10-fight sample size. That's really incredible. In 10 fights, he's absorbed 80 strikes. He averages getting hit 8 times per fight. Nobody really scores on this guy. And then you see the amazing grappling numbers that this guy is putting up. Islam Makhachev, 23 of 35 on his UFC takedown attempts, 65.71% takedown accuracy. He's averaging 3.31 takedowns per 15 minutes, 1.01 submission attempts per 15 minutes, and 51.58% control time. So very dominant numbers. And let me go to my advanced stats here. I just want to tell you guys real quick how many DraftKings points a minute Islam Makhachev is allowing to his opponents. And I'm telling you, it's a minuscule number. As I get past the Volkov to Burra fight here, and there's Hooker. So Islam Makhachev is allowing only 1.14 DraftKings points a minute to his opponents. So that means even if you go the full 15 minutes against him, you might score 16 or 17 DraftKings points if you score the average amount against him. So it's hard to own Hooker here. It's really hard. Makhachev is just so dominant, but you can't really eliminate him from your lineup for 2 reasons. One, he's got 85% takedown defense, and I suppose there's a chance that he could keep this fight on the feet long enough to be dangerous here against Islam. We've seen Islam knocked out before. He's not the best striker in the world. So, yeah, puncher's chance. And the level of competition that Hooker's fought has been absolutely fantastic. So, but it's just really hard, the other reason, though, that you would roster Hooker, like you said, $6,600. You could just say to yourself, you know what? There's 5 fighters I like. I'm just going to punt with Hooker. Maybe he gets me 10. Maybe he gets me 15 points in a decision. But I'm going to try to get over 100 points out of all the winners that I like. And then you can get a lineup in the 500 range with a punt like Hooker. It allows you to get everybody else that you like in there. That's the only reason, though. Makhachev's just too dominant to pick Hooker here. Got to pick Makhachev, but at 9,600, it's a steep price. It's hard to own either of these guys.
Joe, who you got?
Yeah, so look, people who are giving Hooker a shot, are going back 6 years and looking at, Martin's, flash KO of Islam Makhachev. I'm not going to, I would hope that no one would hold things against me that I did 6 years ago, which was a lifetime ago.
Have you seen the current culture win right now? Don't tweet anything ever.
I mean, yeah.
People,
that's true. Yeah, 6 years ago, thankfully, during my formative years, there was less social media when I was sowing my oats. But
I went to weigh in on Twitter last week about the whole Chappelle Netflix thing, just an aside, and I had to preface the whole thing with, man, I have to word this carefully because someone's going to see this in 10 seconds or 10 years.
Right. No,
anyway,
you're right.
Sorry.
You're right. Yeah. So look, 6 years ago, he got flash KO'd. Okay, great. Yes, you guys both made great points. He's very expensive here. If I'm going to pay up at that level, I probably want Chimaev. I guess there is a construction where you could get both Chimaev and Makhachev in the same lineup, but if you're doing that, you're not getting the favorites in the main and the co-main, which might be okay. You might see those fights a different way, and that's a way to get both of those guys in. So Look, I'm going to pick Makhachev. I don't know what I'm going to have of him. Let me take a quick look at ownership. Yeah. Wow. Sub 25 is what I'm seeing. And let's look at Hooker. By the way, do any of you guys know, and now this is like, since I'm an educator as well as an MMA prognosticator, do any of you guys know the derivation of the word hooker as it relates to how we say ladies of the night? Do you know where that word hooker came from?
I do not.
Okay, so I will tell you. During the Civil War, there was a Union general, Army general named Hooker. And when he would pick up camp, there would be a large number of camp followers. As they say in the colloquial vernacular, mobile female independent contractors who would kind of follow the camp. And they were given the nickname hookers because they followed the camp movements of General Hooker. And that's how the word and the phrase hooker came about in modern culture. With that said,
if I'm ever on some sick version of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, like you're definitely my lifeline. Like
yeah,
what
lifeline.
in the world?
Hooker, yeah. They used to call me World Buck when I was a kid. For those of you who remember what an encyclopedia was. In any case, yeah, like Hooker's got a puncher's chance. I like the guy. I like that he's taking a fight. I just think it's a tough road here. Makhachev is going to smuggle him and smother him, maybe that too, and get him to the ground. And Hooker's going to get frustrated. I don't know that this might even go the distance, which is why I'm not overly keen on having too much Islam. Yes, he's going to get control time. Yes, he'll get some strikes, but other than that, if he can't get the finish, I do think Hooker's a better fighter than Drew Dober. Yeah, I mean, throw a few Hooker lineups in there and hope for a flash knockout. That's really his path to victory as I see it. I don't see him winning a decision. Unless Islam gets hurt. We've seen stranger things happen. Yeah, I'll take Makhachev here, and Hooker is a deep punt.
I'm just gonna move on. I just that's what's best. The best thing to do here.
Why not?
Next fight up, co-main event time. Peter Yan, 8,800, $20, $21 on FanDuel. Corey Sandhagen, $7,400 on DK, $18 on FanDuel. This is one of the picks I changed, Joe. Give me the underdog. It's one of those, like, both guys are incredibly hittable. As good as Petr Yan is, and the grappling upside he'll have here, I like Sandhagen's movement, and God, Yan is hittable. And over 5 rounds, volume, like, clearly, I'm taking a stand here. I'm having a ton of both sides of this fight, but I think the ownership's going to be on the Yan side. I'm probably going to be around at least 40% of both these guys. Like, I'm going to be damn near all in between the volume and 5 rounds to work with, and the fact that I'm taking the underdog here. So I guess I should preface it with that. I've also, something that's always bothered me. Petr Yan's strength of schedule is not very good, and that seems to get lost quite a bit. Like, I'm gonna, like, I wanted to pull this up, and I should have had it teed up before. Like, all right.
If you need any strength to schedule stats, your Uncle Wheezy's always got.
Yeah, I got you.
Just ask.
Yeah, it's Jose Aldo, but it's the ghost of Jose Aldo, the ghost of Uriah Faber. Really, guys? And then you got Jimmy Rivera, who's that's probably his best win is Jimmy Rivera, because then you got John Dodson, Douglas Silva de Andrade, and Jinsu Sun, like, and then Teruto Ishihara, and then you're back in ACB. But that's not a good strength of schedule for someone who people are debating as one of the all-time greats already, just because that's, people knee jerk to that reaction. And then Sandhagen, though, he's got to win over Marlon Moraes. He's got to win over Frankie Edgar. Now, you could say goes to Frankie Edgar too, but I argue there's more ghosts on the other side. And the Rafael Assunção win to me is a really impressive win. So strength of schedule, I would give to Corey Sandhagen. And just when I see this fight playing out at range, I think Sandhagen's the better striker. Now, if Jan comes in with a good game plan and grapples, I could look real stupid and Jan could dominate. Jan's not very smart, guys. He's just not. He's the guy on Twitter celebrating, drilling an open workout, drilling the illegal knee. Like, I get you're trying to be funny, but I wouldn't put that muscle memory in there ever again. Like ever. And he's been doing it. So I don't trust him to do anything smart here. And at range, to reiterate one more time, at range, I think Sandhagen has the edge. So a great fight. This is a fight to stack in cash games. Probably the first thing I'm doing in cash games is stacking it up. Because you're not stacking the main event. Please, God, don't do that. And I'll take the Sandhagen side at range and volume. Joe, you're up first for this fight.
Yeah, I don't know that Sandhagen's a better striker, but those points are all well taken. I do think you need to have both sides of this fight. I guess I'm trying to think if you were going to stack, if this fight would be a better stack than the main. I don't think I'm I know I can tell you I know I'm not stacking in cash this week. I did stack last week and it was a great call, obviously. I don't know, but I guess if I was going to stack one versus the other, I don't know.
It has to be this one, Joe. It has to be this
I
fight.
would think so. I would think so. That's up for debate because Jan could flash KO Glover. I mean, we've seen him almost get finished before, so we could certainly see that happen, and then you'd get no points
multiple times.
Yeah, and then you'd get no points out of Glover. So yeah, I would say this is probably the better of the two fights to stack. Yeah, I guess I do like Jan here. I think he could hurt Sandhagen if he uses his, I don't know that he has to use his wrestling. I think it would be smart, but I do think he's got faster hands and is a better striker personally. I am not the technician of this crew when it comes to doing fight analysis. But I'm going to take Jan.
But if you need to know where hookers come from, guys, you call.
Yeah, I do know that. I am a history buff, if nothing else. So yeah, I am going to pick Jan here. And I do think you need exposure to this fight. Probably at least 75% exposure to this fight in multiple entry.
All right, Wheezy, co-main event time. Who you got?
Yeah, man. First of all, I want to say let's not shovel the dirt on the grave of Jose Aldo just yet, man. I mean, he lost that fight to Jan. It was a competitive fight, but then he's rattled off 2 wins since then over a very live Marlon Vera and a very good top 5 Pedro Munoz. So I don't consider that to be a bad loss. Now, that being said, my strength of schedule stats and metrics that I keep have Corey Sandhagen having the better win-loss ratio opponents and fighting the more experienced opponents. So, yeah, I'm giving Sandhagen a slight strength of schedule advantage here. He's 4 inches taller and he's got a 3-inch reach advantage, so that's good. But, it's going to be Jan with the takedowns, the takedown defense. The grappling statistics are much more impressive on Jan. Jan lands 5.99 significant strikes a minute, absorbs 3.55, and Sandhagen's landing 6.32 per minute and absorbing 4.05. So they're both showing great striking numbers. Jan getting about he gets a knockdown on 1.34% of the total significant strikes that he lands, while for Sandhagen it's 0.78. Both of these guys have really good striking defense. Sandhagen at 59%, Jan at 62.5%. Both are showing a ton of power. This is such a great fight, you guys. It should be extremely high volume. I see there being some scrambles and some wrestling. I see both of these guys utilizing pressure, throwing a lot of volume. I can't wait for this fight. It's one of the best fights on the card, and that's saying a ton on this card. I'm picking Peter Yan. I have a bet on Peter Yan. I just don't see anybody beating this guy right now. I think he's an absolute savage. But Corey Sandhagen has gotten my respect all day long, win or lose in this fight. I really love what he brings to the table. And if he shows the same kind of takedown defense that he did against TJ Dillashaw, I think he's going to have a good chance to make this a really close fight and take it all the way to the scorecards. But I do think Peter Yan's going to be the one getting his hand raised at the end. You got to really own both sides of this fight, man. You leave either one of these guys off of your roster at your own peril this week.
Absolutely agree with that. To make sure I was unmuted. That being said, it is time to go to the main event for the light heavyweight title or the Mr. Congeniality title, which I have to say I kind of enjoy the not constant hate I've seen during fight week. It's nice to see two veterans and the respect and the like. It's a nice change of pace. I don't think I want to see it all the time, but it's been nice to see between these two guys. Jan Blachowicz, $9,000, 2,200 on FanDuel. Glover, 7,200, $16 on FanDuel. I feel good for a guy like Glover Teixeira getting this shot. The career resurgence is inspiring. Crap ton of variance within it, like a lot. Like he's been flash KO'd a couple times along the way. There's these comebacks. God, you got to keep on relying on that. And then against Jan, can Glover get Jan down? I don't think so. And you remember how many shots it took Gustafsson to knock down Glover? Yeah, he ain't gonna eat that many here. He just won't. He'll eat a couple, and that's gonna be the end of it. Like I don't see a flash come back to life for Glover. If he gets tagged, it's gonna be a problem. So I mean, Glover has the path to victory in terms of the grappling and takedown submission. I just don't think he does it. I'm pretty confident here in Jan. Jan is one of my favorite 9K fighters and above. Granted, he's right at 9K, which is when you got Islam at 9.6K, 9,000 flats actually kind of a deal here. If Glover does survive, he still has 5 rounds to work, so he's got a good floor, a good ceiling. I think Glover's ownership is going to be inflated because he's in the main event. As much as I like Glover, I don't think it's going to be a good night for you, bud. I just don't. And then fan wise, I hope it's not, because God, I want to see Jan and Yuri. I really want to see Jan and Yuri. Don't ruin this MMA god. So I'm on Jan. Wheezy, start us off for the main event.
Okay, so let's talk about Jan Blachowicz' takedown defense in the UFC, and it's kind of like a tale of two halves here. So if we look at the first 6 fights in Blachowicz' career, he's been taken down in those fights 11 times out of 22 attempts. So he showed 50% takedown defense in his first 6 fights in the UFC, and his opponents were having some success taking him down, holding him down. After that, the next 10 fights for Blachowicz, we saw 16 takedown attempts in those fights, and he was only taken down twice. So his takedown defense, pushing 86, 87% in his last 10 fights. So that bodes really well against a guy like Teixeira, who we've seen have the most success recently when he gets his opponents down to the ground, fishes for submissions, and works the ground and pound, in particular what he did against Anthony Smith. Now, Teixeira, we've seen a lot of the same thing out of Teixeira where, in these last 5 fights, like he's getting knocked down, he's getting hurt. In these last 5 fights, he's been knocked down twice, but he's won all 5 of them. So, but in those fights, we're seeing him get takedowns. We're seeing Glover get 7 of 9 against Santos. He got 1 of 2 against Smith. He got 1 of 6 against Krylov, 0 of 7 against Kudalaba, but 1 of 3 against Roberson, 1 of 3 against Corey Anderson. And the point is that he doesn't really need more than 1. He only got 1 takedown against Roberson and subbed him. He only got 1 takedown against Krylov and won a split decision there. He only got 1 takedown and 1 knockdown against Smith, but knocked him out in the 5th round. And I mean, think about that. Think about how much he wound up on the ground on top of Smitty in that fight, and he still only got 1 takedown. So he's just really tricky. But we see that Blachowicz has been able to keep the fight on the feet. And when we look at these striking numbers side by side for these guys, we see some very similar numbers. This could be very close on the feet, but we've seen Blachowicz show more power. He outstruck Israel Adesanya from a distance in several of the rounds of that fight. I'm picking Blachowicz here. I do think the line is too wide. I think Teixeira is very live as an underdog at this price, especially as good as he's been on the ground, as heavy as he's been on top, and as suffocating as his grappling game is. Should the fight get there, whether it's him pulling guard, whether it's him getting a takedown, whether it's him getting a knockdown, whether it's just some scrambling or he gets somebody's back. There are paths here for Teixeira, but I've got to lean Blachowicz. I'm going to have a Blachowicz in a lot of my lineups. I really want to be exposed to him. I think this fight finishes inside the distance, and I think Blachowicz at 9,000 is a must own.
Joe, who you got?
Yeah, so truth be told here, in the RotoWire picks that we gave out earlier in the week, I did pick Glover here, and some of that may be nostalgia for the shit ton of money that he's made me over the course of his last few fights, predominantly as an underdog. So I, with my heart, maybe a little bit picked Glover. Not that he doesn't have a path to victory here. And we all know what that path to victory is. I just think that of the fighters that he has wrestled Blachowicz is probably the most accomplished on the ground. So I guess I'm gonna change my pick. I'm gonna do it. I hate to do it. I'm gonna move my pick to Jan. I do think you probably need, again, 60 to 70% exposure to this fight. And the only reason why I would say maybe less exposure to this fight versus Jan Sandhagen is because, maybe you will see a flash, excuse me, KO by Jan, and that would kill all your Glover lineups. So the floor could be quite low. Obviously, if Teixeira wins, I would expect a pretty decent score out of him because we all know how he's going to win and how he's going to score. So I will take Jan here. Would I be, unless I am like sweating out a major win with Jan needing to get the victory, I would not at all be that upset to see Glover get it here. Nice guy, like him, and has made me a ton of money.
All right, guys, that's it for the fight by fight breakdown. It is time for hot takes. If you're new here, what we do at the end of the show, drop in your hot takes into chat. Something unexpected, can be a bet, can be a DK play, can be something off the wall, number of finishes, whatever you got. Something, obviously, don't tell me, Jan's going to win by KO. That does not qualify as a hot take. I'm trusting you guys to be smart enough to know that. Before I do that, I'll do the tagline one more time. So type them up. Make sure you go to rotowire.com/free for a 10-day free trial to all their premium content. No credit card required. Like the podcast, subscribe to all these channels, follow all of us on Twitter, all that good stuff while people are typing. Joe, I assume you got some kind of crazy parlay for us.
I do. It's a 3-fighter parlay. It is with, 3 underdogs that I like. It is Mikhail Oli at plus 100. It is Ricardo Ramos. Again, his nickname means I milk bulls in Portuguese. And we got Virna. I am handsome by Mount Rushmore standards. Yana Doroba. And those 3 together will pay you a juicy 11.25 to 1 or plus 11.25 for those of you that look at that's that way. So it would take, less than $100 to win 1,000. So I know Brady was on the fence as to whether he was going to do a parlay or not. I heard that. Brady, here you go, buddy. I guess you guys don't have access to DK Sportsbook in Chicago, do you?
Oh, no, we have it.
You have it.
Yes.
It's 5 dimes you don't have access to. Yeah, Shaun doesn't have access to DK in New York. He would have to drive to the New Jersey border, which is not convenient for him based on where he lives. So, yeah, that is my hot take.
I love going to watch fights at your house, Joe.
Yeah, you're always welcome.
One of the many reasons.
You're always welcome. Yeah, that's my hot take. 11.25 to 1 parlay. 3 underdogs, Virna, Oli, and Ramos. Feel free to tail it.
Wheezy, you got a hot take for us?
Yeah, my hot take is going to be Virna Jandiroba winning by submission. I got that at 12 to 1. I actually bet a quarter unit on that one. At 12 to 1, I think Virna might even pull guard here. Her arm bars are absolutely nasty. Like I said, she is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu multi-time world champion here. I think that this fight's going to go to the ground. I think Virna is probably going to dominate down there. That's my hot take. I also have a greasy 4-leg parlay, which is eligible for insurance. on FanDuel. It is this. Fight doesn't go to decision for Zaleski dos Santos against Saint Denis. Fight doesn't go to decision for... Oh, God. You know what? Let me pull it up on my account.
Was it you? Was it you?
What's that?
Was it you?
No, it wasn't that one. Because on FanDuel, they will give you insurance on a 4-leg parlay. If one of the legs doesn't cash, you get a free bet for that amount as long as all four legs in your parlay are minus 200 or above. So this is one where everything was minus 200 or above, so it's eligible for insurance. I'm just logging into my account and checking my bets.
So while Wheezy logs into his account, I will tell you that, a quarter unit, Wheezy wagers in Ethereum. So a quarter unit of Ethereum is really, really hefty wager for Wheezy.
Party at Wheezy's if that one comes through. But so here's the 4-leg parlay. Fight doesn't go to decision for Saint Denis dos Santos. Fight doesn't go to decision for Ankalaev Ozdemir. Duraev inside the distance and Chimaev inside the distance. That one is plus 575 or something like that. Okay. So it's a 4-legger, and if 3 legs come in, you'll get a free bet the next week for the amount that you didn't make.
On FanDuel.
On FanDuel, yes.
Yep.
All right, and I'll read a couple off before I do mine. Actually, all I got right now is Non, Who, second round, and Lerone Murphy by sub parlay, plus 16,800. Man,
that's 168 to 1 for you neophytes.
Yep, that's something else.
That's big. My hot take, I'm gonna do it's the same, but I'll throw out a couple bets too. Volkan Ozdemir inside the distance plus 400. I like that number quite a bit. And Ozdemir round 2, some books plus 1,300. I think.
Wow.
So that is my hot take for the card. Wheezy, this was fun. Thank you for joining us. Great to have you. I'm sure we'll have you back.
Thank you, man. It was really great chopping it up with you guys. This is such a great card. I could talk about it all day, but yeah, check me out on Twitter at MMA Wheezy, and I got my own YouTube channel, Uncle Wheezy, and I'll come on this show anytime with you guys. Yeah, it's a lot of fun for me.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Wheezy, hang out for a second after we go dark. I have a question for you.
We'll do.
Oh boy, the teaser to the universe. What do they talk about behind the scenes? It's definitely not appropriate. We should have that podcast. That's the podcast we should start. All right, guys. Good luck in your contest. Have any questions for any of us? I know we all talk to each other and anybody else out on Twitter. Otherwise, like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. Thank you for joining us, chat. It's been fun as always. Good luck in your contest. See you next time.
Peace.